Hi everybody, it's episode 5, I believe now, of the IT podcast, and hopefully we're somewhere getting close to beating the trilogy of trilogies of Star Wars. But joining me again this week is Mark Stewart Buttery from Brigantia in
Hello.
regards to having another general chat. If you watched our last one, you know that we do like a good chat, and I hope you're going to enjoy what we decide to talk about this week. We have not set an agenda this week, so this could be fun. How are we doing, Mark? How's things?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not
very
too
sharp.
bad.
Snookers on the telly. Is that what's inspired your outfit? I'm assuming.
Sorry?
Snookers on the telly. So I'm assuming that's what's inspired your outfit.
I get so many jips for wearing a waistcoat, but I haven't watched snooker since Stephen Hendry and Jimmy White, which I know is happening again. But yeah, I haven't watched snooker for years. No, this is actually, it's down to TV. I'll give you that. Like I've worn waistcoats and ties for years. There are pictures of me of an 8-year-old.
Well, next time you're gonna have to bring some of those pictures.
Yeah. In a waistcoat and all those kind of things. I remember my mum taking me and my brother to get some photos done, and I've gone and got myself all dressed up, and my brother's trying to go in a tracksuit. But one, being back at Uptech or being at Uptech has allowed me to get back to being myself, which is, I love getting suited and booted. I absolutely love it. And started watching a TV program on Netflix called White Collar.
Okay. I've seen it. Not physically seen it. I've seen it on there.
Yeah. I've never heard of it, never seen it. Obviously, I don't think it reached these shores for general TV. It's a typical American police procedural. So, main two characters. One's an FBI agent. The other one is this good-looking guy who likes a suit. And he is a con man, or was a con man. He got caught and gets released on a anklet to help the FBI solve white collar crimes because of his knowledge. And my wife and I started watching that in February. We're on season 5.
Oh wow!
We have been binge watching that along with all the other stuff that we watch, and it's just the fact of he is constantly. Well, he actually dresses more like he's in the Rat Pack, so he's even got the hat. I'm not going that far. But it kind of encouraged me to get back in my suits and get the ties out. And people do think it's a bit sad because realistically, I am sat here in front of 3 screens at home, but I have got the full suit on, so I have got the trousers on as well.
Oh, interesting. See, now whenever I've done this, and I'm talking interviews last year and things like that, I had shirt, tie, even jacket on in a lot of cases, but I was wearing shorts.
Yep. Yeah. Did that once, but it was an arranged thing for B&I where we did a jackets and Bermuda shorts.
Very nice.
Yeah.
There's something quite, I don't know, it's something quite confidence building about knowing you're wearing shorts when you should be wearing suit trousers, and the fact that nobody will ever know.
Yeah. It is. There is something to be said. It is weird, isn't it? So I joined. This is a great example. I joined BNI in November. There's 23 members now of my chapter. I've met a grand total of 6 of them in person.
Okay.
Now, I then bumped into a member who has left because of work commitments. I bumped into him outside B&Q on Saturday. He's a really nice guy, but I literally had to do a triple take because I was trying to picture him from sort of chest down. Chest up. Because for chest down, I didn't know what he looked like. I just didn't know. And I was like, is that him? Is that him? No, it looks too tall. No, maybe it's not. Maybe. It's really bizarre seeing people in real terms.
It is though, because I've as you know, I've just moved house, right? And the area I've just moved house to is a really nice golf club. It's a members club only, and I go down, and I've never joined a members club ever in my life, and you have to go and do what's being called played in. Right, so it means one of the more senior members, if you can call it that, basically it's just somebody who's been there a while, will take you around the golf course, usually part of the committee of some sort. And they're not necessarily judging your ability to play, they're judging things like your etiquette and your dress code, and are you repairing pitch marks and divot and all that sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it took me a little while to fall back into having that unawkward interactive feeling with a human being one-on-one, because I just haven't done it for so long.
Yeah.
Like, you obviously got to live with my girlfriend, things it's a little bit different, but meeting random people felt awkward. It just did, because it didn't really. I felt out of practice. It was the strangest thing.
I said to you before we started, I've been out to a couple of appointments today. The first one I went out to, it was first thing this morning, and it was someone I'd never met before in my life, and I had extra trips to the toilet before I left the house because I was nervous. I don't get nervous.
Apparently you do.
Apparently I do now, but I never used to, because I thrive on that, of meeting new people and having conversations. I am very good at getting verbal diarrhea, but getting verbal diarrhea and talking sense. But I know at times, especially now, I get verbal diarrhea and I'm probably incoherent because I'm just like, I don't know what to say. I don't know who I'm talking to. I don't know. All these things go through your mind.
You don't feel there's any like flow to anything you're saying. It just all feels strange. And do you know what I think it is? I think it's actual eye contact.
Yes.
I think it's real. I think that actually throws us off what we're saying. And then we don't end up putting a nicely formed sentence together. We're just talking, crap and gibberish.
Yeah.
And
I think you're absolutely right. Eye contact is exceedingly important, and it's been exceedingly important to you and I with our job roles, and people that have done our job roles before. They going out and shaking someone's hand, looking them in the eye, and having that actual conversation. You build rapport, you build trust, you get to know, you can tell so much by someone's handshake.
Mm.
You can tell bits about them from their body language. But when you're on a video call, whether it be Teams, Zoom, Facebook video calling, WhatsApp video calling, any of these extra things that, they've been around for years, but no one's really used them. And you kind of go, you can't judge anybody. The conversations they don't flow as well.
No.
And that can be out of a number of things. That can be because you're trying to have a conversation, but someone's doorbell's just rung and the dogs have gone absolutely ballistic. So that's all you can hear. Or the phone's rung whilst they're on a call. I've had this one, and they've forgotten to mute themselves.
Yeah, you've had that.
The amount of people that are on call, and it's so easy to do, because you either forget to mute yourself or you forget that you've actually muted yourself, and you're sitting there talking, and everyone's that you're talking and not hearing everybody else going, you're muted. Yeah, those adverts for, is it Monday.com was one of them. And there's another one where the guy was shouting, I think it was because he was shouting Monday.com, about being muted. They were actually, they picked up on something that is really quite true, because I was on a networking call yesterday, and one of the people actually running the call was asked a question and then forgot to unmute himself after moaning that someone had forgotten to mute themselves.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, didn't help himself. But, yeah.
There's some quite funny videos circulating actually where people have forgotten to do certain things, maybe it's turn off their camera.
Yeah, or possibly get dressed.
Or get dressed. Well,
Yeah.
I saw one where, luckily, I won't explain the details too much of it because it's not appropriate, perhaps, but it was a team conversation. I think they're from memory, it was 8 or 9 people, but they were just a team. So it wasn't like a business to business or business to client or anything like that. And they were about to go on to do some form of training. Anyway, the person, whoever was at the top left of the screen on this video, was, well, basically he'd forgotten to turn his camera off and was going to treat himself to an extracurricular activity.
Nice.
Shall we say. And you had all these people scrambling around, running around in their cameras, trying to phone him, trying to get his attention. But obviously, whatever he'd done, he eventually answered the phone and realised. I imagine it was a setup by somebody to be like a bit of a comedy skit, but it was still because you could see it happening. Because you do forget sometimes that you're on camera.
There was one that I saw where the guy literally was starkers because he was getting in the shower, and his device was just chucked on the floor, or he was getting out of the shower, but he obviously forgotten to turn the camera off, or when he'd thrown the device, it turned the camera back on.
No,
because it was looking up at him coming out the shower, because you knew it was the shower because it was the frosted glass and the steam coming out of the room.
But that was some view, wasn't it?
Luckily, it was quite dark, but and obviously a screen on the screen means that you don't see a great deal, thank God. But yeah, the people just, we can be so unaware of what we may or may not be doing.
Yeah. So on that, on Zoom calls, team calls, Google Meets calls, whatever, because they're probably going to start, not come to an end, but I think we're going to have a spell now, aren't we, once lockdown gets lifted a little bit, where people are going to just go and meet people. It could be done on a Teams call probably quite happily.
Yeah.
But just because we can, we're probably going to go and meet people. But anyway, Teams, where do you think you should be looking? So when you're having a conversation, you've got the person, like me and you are talking now, on the other person's screen. Are you talking to camera or are you looking at my eyes?
I'm looking at your eyes.
Yeah. Apparently,
only because I love staring into your eyes,
well,
mate.
You're only human at the end of the day. Who could possibly blame you for that? But apparently, we should be speaking into the camera like this. So that's speaking into the camera, and this is speaking to your eyes. I can't do that. No. I feed off watching you.
Yeah,
like you probably feed off watching me.
And the daft thing is, like I've got a slightly different setup because I've got a camera built into my laptop, but that has got a permanent shutter over it. I don't use it. I've got a 4K webcam on an arm, so I can stand it up, lower it, all those kind of things. This has got a light round it, like LED light. So I'm not staring at that because it's going to hurt my eyes for a start. But I am aware that at times it can look like I'm always looking down because it's that's 6 inches higher than my laptop. But I'm always going to look at the screen.
Yeah.
I do have to remember that because I said I've got 3 screens because I'm greedy, but I have to close them down so there's nothing on them, because that is another thing. I think if you're at a networking thing and there's 60 of you in the room, okay, look at your emails while they're talking, those kind of things. But I always think of it as, if I was in the room with that person, would I be looking at my emails on my laptop? No, I wouldn't. I would be listening to those 60 people tell me what they do. And I would be listening, or if I was in the room with yourself, we're not going to be sat there checking our phones or looking at our laptops or looking at anything else. We're going to have a conversation. Might be looking at a notepad because we're writing stuff down, but we're not going to be responding to emails or looking at the latest news on LinkedIn or checking what the score is in the cricket, which I hold my hands up. I've done that in a BNI meeting.
Recently?
Yes. While England were in India, I literally had it on live on the TV while the BNI meeting was going on, and I got asked what the score was. but that's just the room that we have together. But I do prefer to have human interaction and to go out and see people. However, you can achieve more in a day by doing it on Teams or doing it on Zoom.
100%. When you think about it, then it becomes the way you travel, doesn't it? Because quite a few times you could drive yourself for an hour to an appointment, for example.
Yep.
But is it beneficial for you to get a train? If it doesn't add too much time to that journey, I would rather get the train because I can work whilst I'm on the train. Obviously, can't work whilst I'm driving, so I don't feel like I've lost that travel time. But I think it'd be interesting to see what happens actually, because we're not too far away from the 12th of June or whenever it's supposed to be that we're coming out of lockdown. I think there'll be a period where, as I said, everybody wants to get back in the office and kind of say hello to everybody and just feel like they're getting out of the house. But I wonder how long that will last until people are like, yeah, I don't want to come to the office anymore.
Yeah,
I actually quite like getting out of bed 15 minutes before I'm due to start work, putting some clothes on and cracking on with the day.
I think a lot of businesses and all those things that we do in a day will end up being hybrids of the two.
Yeah.
Because people have seen the value of people working from home, how much work they can achieve in a day. For employees, you've got more flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, I don't have to get up and then drive half an hour to work. Well, that doesn't mean because I'm strange but I do an extra half an hour's work because I just get on. But that means at 5 o'clock I stop, and then I've got an extra half an hour at home to do things, so I'm less rushed in the evenings, which is nice. I do miss the drive, but that's because, well, since I moved to Uptech, I've gone from driving an hour a day minimum to the office to driving a maximum of 35 minutes to the office in the mornings. I used to do around 42,000 miles a year on average. What? Yep. To doing sort of 6,000 miles a year. And I used to love that time in the car because that's when I would listen to TMS podcasts. During the day, I'd listen to TMS when the test matches were on. I would listen to film review podcasts and like the Football Daily podcast. So I'd listen to all of those kind of things, as well as playlists on Spotify and those kind of things. And I'm not doing that. So I know you're the same. For the time that you're working, it's full throttle from start till finish. Well, I didn't actually used to have that because I might be doing a 3-hour drive round the M25 to Croydon, or driving into somewhere near the Shard, or going up to Manchester. Well, I'd spend more time in the car, away from my emails and away from the screens, and actually not really achieving a great deal other than going and seeing a customer and probably signing up a really good, some of those customers I'd go and see would be sending me thousands of pounds worth of work every month. But I'm now sat here looking at 3 screens, looking at LinkedIn, changing bits on the website, trying to learn how to use HubSpot, and constantly dealing with emails. So that's definitely something that's changed. But I think people will want a hybrid.
Yeah, I completely
because
agree.
it's so easy. It is so easy for me to jump on a meeting and go and join 40 other people at a FSB event for East Anglia, which would probably be held in Ipswich, Norwich, possibly Peterborough, all of which I've got more than an hour's drive to get to. Well, I can jump on that in 5 minutes. If I decide, oh, I've got a free hour, I can go and register and jump on the call.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's the difference. It's
yeah.
Like for me, used to spend a lot of time traveling around in London doing various different meetings. Now, unless you were very lucky, it's very unlikely you'd have a meeting that was close to each other. So you'd need, in some cases, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever it was, to get from one meeting to the next and vice versa. And you had if you bounce between 3 or 4 separate meetings, you add that up, that's 160 minutes of your time gone in that day traveling. And you can't use a laptop on a tube. You can't use your phone on a tube. You can't do any of that on a tube. You can do like sardines. You're just rushing around like a headless chicken trying to get the next train. Where if we're sat in office, I can do that. And that 40-minute period, you could be completing the tasks that you decided that were relevant during that meeting, or following up, or getting an answer to a question that you couldn't answer, or you can be doing, and you do just become much more productive. But I love it, not because it means I can get out of bed later, because you don't really, do you?
No.
Because it's still very important that you get up and you have something to eat and you have your shower and you do whatever. That part of your routine is so important. You actually get up and start your day. But you gain so much in the evening. Much in the evening. Like if you were to finish 5:30 in London, it's going to be an hour and a half until you're home. For me,
God, look,
where I was living.
Yeah. When I used to travel down to London, my last appointment in the day was always 1:30, because I wanted it to finish around 2:30, 3 o'clock at the latest, so I could be back at King's Cross for 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because I wanted the 4:15 train back to King's Lynn.
That was then.
Because it's an hour and a half. It was an hour and a half train journey. So, like you said before, if you've suddenly got 40 minutes plus an hour and a half train journey, but I just didn't want to be on that 5 o'clock train, because if I was on that 5 o'clock train, it was going to be 6:30 by the time I got home. But for that hour and a half, I was going to be stood in a doorway.
Yeah.
So I just didn't want to be on that. And it's getting better. I think it's something like 2025. We might get 2 trains an hour to go to King's Cross. It is 1 train an hour, mate, and they've only just gone from 4 carriages to 8 carriages that now do. They've doubled the carriages. It used to be from King's Lynn to Cambridge was 4 carriages. Then they put another 4 carriages on at Cambridge, and then it went through to London. Now it's 8 carriages from King's Lynn to Cambridge, and they put another 8 on and send that down.
That's insane.
For
me, it was much easier because I was always leaving Houndsditch. Right?
Yep.
So for me, all I had to do was walk down from where I was, which was pretty much near the Gherkin, pretty much on top of the Gherkin, and just walk to Bank Station. Right. So get on that bank. I'd then obviously go from there to Waterloo, and I'd get my train back to Fleet. Right. So in essence, that's a really, really simple journey. I'm not having to do much. I know people are getting from one end of London to the other, and they're changing like 16 billion different times before they jump on their final train journey, which is going to take them to their train station, which then might mean they've got a 30-minute car ride at the other end, unless they live local to the direct line to London. Do you know what I mean? So I know my journey was never that stressful, but you finish work at 5:30 and you walk to that, and you're not home until 7 o'clock if you're lucky.
And you've done a hell of a lot of exercise.
You've done a hell of a lot of exercise, which is all very good. Yeah. But you're doing things, and you're having dinner later, and you're probably wanting to have a shower if you've been in London running around all day. Just silly little things like that. So by the time you really sit down and think, right, I'm just going to put my feet up and relax, it's 9 o'clock.
Is that not the worst thing? You've just said it. One of the things I hated, so one of the reasons I ended up driving a lot into London, which I know a lot of people think is absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
But once you've got into an area, so I used to spend a lot of time in the Chelsea, Fulham area. It's not actually that bad traffic wise. Richmond's not that bad traffic wise. Once you get in and you're traveling, so you drive down, your drive down's going to be rubbish from the moment you get to the M25 and you're driving inwards into London, because it's just packed.
Yeah.
So that's just that in essence is just time. So I always, you just leave early enough. then you plan your day properly so that you're just driving between those places. But the reason I did it was because I had a 20 to 25 kilo suitcase full of samples. Well, it's July. You go down on the train. You get the train into King's Cross. You then go down to the tube station and get on I think it was the Jubilee line.
Yeah.
And I get the Jubilee line as far as I can't think where it was now, but I would then change and then get the Circle and District to South Kensington.
Okay.
You get off the tube thinking I can't breathe and I've already got sweat patches.
Yeah.
And you walk out and then you go, there's even less air out in the outside, and you go, I've got a 15-minute walk. Oh, and I've got 10 minutes to get there because the train was late. So you turn up at your customer. I used to take towels with me because I would literally be sweating by the time I got to a customer's front door. And I was like, there's no, I don't know why when you watch a film, when you see the tubes or the subway in America and it's really nice and open, there's loads of fans everywhere, it's air conditioned, and we're going, no, it's small tunnels with no platform space. And because that's even better, isn't it? When you're trying to get home and it's 5 o'clock and you're getting on the tube and it is literally shoulder to shoulder. Yeah. Your face is stuck on the back of somebody else's head.
Literally. And when it's 30 degrees, if you just said, when it's 30 degrees and you're stomping from wherever you've got to be, because you're never walking leisurely to catch a train, are you? You're always flat out going to catch your train.
Oh, you say that? I don't understand that. I used to find it hilarious when because I will never run for a tube.
Right.
Never. And I know that might sound big, but there's going to be another one in 2 fucking minutes.
Yeah, but
excuse my language, but
but that can get you. So yes, it will be there. Like bank, for example, they have them like every 5 minutes or something, 3 or 5 minutes. But that can be the difference sometimes because there will be probably a train from Waterloo to Fleet every 10 to 15 minutes, but one of those trains will be like an hour and 20 minutes. One will be 50 something, and then one will be 30 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And I want the 30-minute train.
Yeah.
So I know that when I finish work at that point in time, I've got to absolutely stomp it to get on that tube in time, to make sure I get to Waterloo in time, to make sure I get my 30-minute train home. Well, that's
I wasn't taking a leisurely stroll, but I wasn't the guy who was risking face planting the floor because he's going that quick and possibly going to trip somebody's back.
I wasn't that guy. I wasn't trying to break records. I was the guy that was just walking quickly. I'm not running. I'm not fast walking. I haven't got my special helmet on, so I glide through the air quicker. I was just wanting to make sure I get towards it. And the worst part is you're stomping it through the heat, which is fine whilst you're going because your body's sort of regulating your temperature.
Yeah.
No dramas. You then get down into Bank Station, you're where you need to be, absolutely, and then you've stopped. And then all of a sudden there's no air. And all of a sudden you are shoulder to shoulder to everybody. And here comes the sweat. Like you can't stop it. There's nothing you can do. You then get onto the tube and people are looking at you and you're looking at them all for the same reason. And you're just sweating buckets because there's now no air on this train. And you get off to Waterloo and you feel saturated with disgustingness. And just that is such a different experience. When it gets to 5:30 now, I'm going down a golf club.
Right, yeah.
Spend an hour on the range.
Yeah.
Now, I'd much rather spend an hour on the range practicing or whatever, looking at nice scenic, than rushing around getting on the tube. So for me, if I'm ever asked the question, do I want to continue working from home or do I want to come to the office, it will be a very easy answer.
Yeah, I can understand that. I really can. We've had conversations because we've been relatively new to the business. I still want to bounce things off people. And it is so much easier when you're in the office together to do that. Teams is great. And don't get me wrong, because you can ping a chat over, but all chats miss some kind of emotion. You can stick an emoji at the end, but people still misread it. And I do want to get back to the office for that. It's the camaraderie, it's the people thing. I do enjoy, on the flip side, I do enjoy the working from home, because like you said, like I said, 5 o'clock, I'm finished. I'm going and getting the dogs, and I'm going out for a walk, and I'm getting back, and I'm going out for a run. All right. Before my running club restarted, I may well have been out for my run an hour and a half earlier than I would normally be. And then, all of a sudden that would help binge watch White Collar, because we had extra time in the evenings, because now my running group started, we're back to running at sort of 7:30 in the evening. So we're not eating till sort of 8:30 in the evening. But I still got that time to go and have a leisurely walk with the dogs, not let's get the dogs and we've got half an hour to try and stomp round and get 2 miles done. I can go and have a comfortable walk, and I can just relax. When I go out on the bike on a Wednesday, I can go out earlier if I get finished early enough. I can go out early, do a few extra miles. So whereas this time last year it was getting out and trying to do 17 miles, we're now getting out and trying to do 22.
Fair play.
But it's it will. I think hybrid will be where it goes, because I think we'll be saying I might go to the office twice a week once we're happy enough to go back to the office.
Yeah. Hybrid, without a doubt. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not sat here going I don't want to go to the office ever. I'm just saying if it was the choice of I permanently work from home or I permanently work from the office and there's no in between, then it would be a very easy answer.
Yeah,
I'll be permanently working from home. If I have the option to, I mean, it's very different for me. I'm down London-ish way. I've just moved, as you know, I'm a little bit further away from that now, but that means I'm even that little bit further away from Brigantia, which is based up in Ripon, North Yorkshire.
Yes.
So for me, it's not I'll pop to the office today or I'll pop to the office tomorrow. That's not even a thing, because it's a 5-hour car drive.
Yeah, it is.
Or a 5-hour car journey, or a 5-hour train journey. So it has to be very well planned, and I'm having to stay overnight because it's just insanity to drive 5 hours in the morning, get there, do a day's work, and then drive home 5 hours.
Yeah, that's nuts. Yeah,
which the Brigantia wouldn't ever let me do anyway, for obvious reasons. But yeah, no brainer for me. And you do get so much more done. And I've quit smoking recently. I think I'm coming up to 3 months now.
Well done. That was going to be a question. Oh, was it?
Because I know you quit smoking as well, which we'll talk to you about, ask you about in a second. But for me, and I don't know if this affected you, but did you have like a change in concentration for the worse once you quit smoking?
Yes, yeah. I still have it. I still got it. Still got that.
So what I found really hard, when you're a smoker, for anybody listening to this, if you're not a smoker, you're probably going out maybe every hour to 2 hours for a cigarette of some sort, right? And I didn't really appreciate this, but cigarettes or nicotine is a stimulant, and it has been proven that smoking cigarettes can enhance your concentration.
Yep.
Right, so what tends to happen is for that hour when you're not smoking, you're focused for 2 reasons. A, you've got nicotine in you, and now you think, right, I've got to get this done, then I'll have a cigarette. So and your day's sort of broken up within these like hour or 2 hour chunks where you're flat out because you've got this, your brain's had this drug to help it, and you're running on the fact you're about to have another one. But before you're going to allow yourself to have another one, you want to get this done.
Yeah.
And now I've lost all of that. I sit here sometimes and you just wander. You just disappear off.
Oh, right. So, I did do that. I don't do that now. I have to keep my brain busy. Which is new. That's only been in that period of time since I gave up smoking, got fit, and I've got to keep my brain busy. But initially, I couldn't even watch TV. I couldn't concentrate on TV because part of it was me just kind of, I want to go for a cigarette. I haven't got any cigarettes. Where do I go? What do I do? That kind of thing. But I would quite easily drift off into a daydream, which is quite scary. But that's why I got into listening to podcasts, because that would take part of my concentration when I was driving, because I did used to smoke in the car when I was driving. I was on my own. It wasn't affecting anybody, and it was a nice way to break it up. But I would literally be going, right, I've had that, and then I'm clock watching.
Yeah.
Because when is all right to have my next one? Because I'm bored to tears and I want another cigarette. But it's literally been 10 minutes.
Literally.
Yeah. So you're focused on what's going to happen in that hour. But that's good to hear. You've got the 3-month mark. We should. I feel like we should have some of those tokens like they have for AA meetings. Sent to you.
3 years sober.
Yeah.
3 months sober. Yeah, it's strange because the first month didn't feel that hard, right? Because as you know, because it was you were the reason I quit smoking without any aids or smoking aids.
Yeah.
If I ever told you, I think I did to you.
Yeah.
But I started off with patches, and I had every intention of going highest strength for a week, mid strength for a week, and then lowest strength for a week, and then stopping. Right. So it's only a 3-week plan. So if you read the back of these boxes, they want you on each stage for 6 to 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Probably because they want you to buy their patches over and over and over and over again, and they all make lots and lots of money, which I completely understand. You're running a business, whatever, but that was never my plan, right? But after speaking to you on day 3 and feeling like I needed to bring it up to people, that's obviously when I learned you'd quit smoking. It was you saying, but do you realise that when you stop the nicotine, it's going to be like quitting all over again?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, hadn't thought of that. And I'd had such a bad time of it for those last 3 days. Thankfully, I didn't think, right, I'm just going to start smoking again. I thought, well, I'm just going to take the patch off because I'm not doing this twice.
Yeah.
I didn't take it off there and then, but I didn't put one on the next morning, and I haven't done since. And I can honestly say, hand on my heart, I have not had a cigarette at all.
Excellent. Fantastic. That is absolutely brilliant to hear, and I'm glad that I had that effect. I know that I talk a lot about mindset, personal change, that kind of stuff, because I've digested that information, and I'm still digesting that information from people on a wholehearted level all the time. But I did actually have someone say to me, do you think you should do that as a career? And I went, absolutely not, because I do not want to be the person that's giving advice that someone takes wholeheartedly, and or doesn't take it wholeheartedly and then come screaming that it's not done right. I know from when I gave up smoking, just going cold turkey was better, because like you said, because initially when I did it, I started with vaping, and I started off like the strongest strength of nicotine that I could possibly get, and then I was coming down a bit, and then I just went, I'm just hanging on, because all I was doing was actually vaping more to keep getting the same level of nicotine.
Yeah, because you can do it that way. Right? I've like every smoker, I've quit a lot of times.
Yeah.
But there is something evidently very different about how I feel about this quit. So I do think this one will stick. But I did one back in 2015, probably 2016, something like that, right? And I was using an electronic cigarette, and I did exactly that. But I was very disciplined about how quickly I came down. So it wasn't a case of, oh, we'll see how I feel, and then I might drop the strength. It was like, no, regimented. 1 week, right?
Yep.
And then after that, you become an opposite. So I think it was like 18 milligrams maybe of nicotine in the flavour that I liked. Then it was, say, like 12, and then it was like 6, then it was 3, and then it was like none. By the time I got to 6, I was pretty much, I was ready to stop. Do you know what I mean? I'd stopped getting the benefit of vaping. It wasn't killing my craving anymore, and actually, I was getting fed up with vaping, weirdly. So I didn't even.
No, I can I can relate to that, because it dried your mouth out.
Mm.
The fact that you got flavors was great, but
you don't the whole time.
Well, yeah, but you just find one flavor, and then you're addicted to that flavor, because when it changes, you notice.
Yeah, but it's when you change that coil that's in it for the first time, and you prep it and you soak it and you do everything. The first couple of takes you take on that vape, it tastes phenomenal.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But it never tastes that way again.
No, not
mine didn't anyway.
Yeah.
I know there's lots of different ones out there. There's probably do lots of different things, but mine didn't. And I just got fed up with it. So I literally put it in the drawer, and I didn't smoke again for like 9 months.
Yeah.
It was 9 months total.
I am now at 4 years.
Yeah. And what worries me is you still think about it sometimes, don't you?
Oh yeah, yeah. Like, my dad has been given up smoking for nearly 40 years, and he still gets cravings. So, but he's now not sat at home when he's bored. He's when he's walking down the street, and so he walks past someone that's got a cigarette on.
Yeah.
And that it just hits him, and he go, because anybody that says that they've been a smoker and they find the smell of their brand of cigarette repulsive is lying, because it just drags in and it just brings back all those receptors that. And yeah, all right, if I go in, if I get in a car that someone has been smoking in, so really scarily, my son bought his first car.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I went out and test drove it with him, because he's not passed his test yet. I went out and test drove it, and we got in it, and the first thing I went was, smoked in here. And I was literally screaming out, smoked in here, because it's that musky bit. That bit,
stale.
It's stale, and that
horrible.
bit is horrid.
Yeah.
But someone actually walking down the road smoking a Marlboro Gold, I'm going to be going, yeah. But I can. All I have to do is think about the fact of, I gave up smoking. I can run, I can cycle, I can go at the gym without being out of breath. And I was smoking and asthmatic, and there's no wonder I couldn't go for a run.
Yeah, mate. There's no wonder you could walk to your car. To be fair, mate.
I've now run 10 miles. I'm almost at my half marathon, and I cycled. I've done the 100 miles, and I've done all those things, and I'm now regularly doing, sort of around average of 20 miles a week running, and nearly 80 miles a week on the bike. There's no way as a smoker that I'm doing that.
No, not a chance.
Because one, as a smoker, I'm going to stop if I was on the bike, I'd be stopping every 10 miles for a cigarette.
Yeah.
And running, I just wouldn't have the capacity to do it.
No, you really wouldn't. And I can properly testify this. I mean, I used to play a lot of golf, as you know.
Yep.
And I actually had a career in golf, so I spent a lot of time being active and playing on the golf courses and doing all that sort of stuff, to then going and getting a desk job, right, and quitting smoking and doing all these things. And I'm not making any excuses for myself. It was nothing else other than bone idleness and laziness, but I put on a reasonable amount of weight. I'm talking maybe 2 or 3 stone to what I should have done, what I should be, right? And I have always run. So when I was playing golf and I was getting fit and I was staying fit, we'd run 3 times a week, and you'd do anything between sort of like 5 and 10 miles on each run, depending on how you felt and what the day was and the weather and all that sort of stuff. So we weren't running loads or miles for miles, but it was enough for us to stay fit, to do what we need to do. But that's why my go-to now has been running, right? But I've got to be a little bit careful now because of my knees, so I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight before I start hitting running full time again, because I'm a little bit heavy. I don't want to damage my knees. But the difference between when I was running when I was smoking, or vaping I should say, to when I was running when I'm not smoking, is day and night. It's absolutely day and night. When you're vaping and you run, I mean, everybody talks about that first mile being the hardest anyway. But you think about that first minute when your body has realised that it's doing something and the muscles needing more oxygen, so that means we need to pump more blood, so your heart gets going, and it doesn't sink because your lungs can't take in the oxygen that it needs. They just can't.
Yeah.
And then it's harder and harder and harder, and you never really break through that. The first mile's the hardest part because that's not what your problem is.
No. Well, you see, that first mile is the hardest. I don't get that. The only problem I have with the first mile is to remember not to be a dickhead.
Well,
so
that must be tough, mate.
Yeah, it is. Like last night was a 15 out, 15 back, and I was running with two other guys that I get on with really well. I'm a kind of 9-minute mile sort of person. If I'm going out for a 10k, I'm looking to do. My fastest one has been at 8:45-minute miles. That's the fastest one I've ever done. So I'm normally around 9-minute miles. Sometimes it can be 9.5. The first mile last night was 7.5 minutes. We couldn't talk to each other. We couldn't do anything. And then the second mile was just over 8 minutes. And then we turned and came back because it was 15 out, 15 back. So I did 3.7 miles in the half hour, averaging 8-minute 13s. Well, we got back and our run leader's telling us to go, just go. And I'm kind of, I'd done myself.
Yeah.
But if I'd gone out at, say, 8-minute miling, I'd have probably done all 3 miles at 8 minutes. That little bit too quick. And I've done park runs going out the first mile too quick. I've done 5Ks going out. The 10Ks going out too quick. And I know because I've been one of those people that has to get warm and has to get going before I hit a peak.
Yeah. Well, it's finding your rhythm, isn't it? That's what I always found. Is that it always took, even when I was able to run 10, 15 miles and stop, and within like 30 blooming seconds, at least from memory, no longer be out of breath and have caught my breath. So I was a fit guy.
Yeah.
But that first mile sucked. Not because it was hard, because your body. Well, it was because it was harder, but because your body is still trying to find that rhythm.
Yeah, I think the only thing, and I've just kind of, and I think it's because I've become not immune to it, but I can just block it out. Because that first mile, that's when your feet go ow, your ankle goes ow, your shins go ow, your knees go ow, your thighs go get out, just stop. Your head's going, just go home. It's warm and comfy, snuggly and fuzzy at home. Let's just go home. I can block that out. I know that the only reason I am running is because I can't think about anything else. I've got to think about one foot in front of the other without tripping over, trying to keep my breathing right. And anything that says it hurts doesn't hurt, because that is a mental thing. And there are some people who will go, James, you are so wrong. If your knee hurts, stop. No, it's not quite right.
I agree with you, right? Because my knees were starting to really hurt. I mean, really hurt to the point where I couldn't actually run properly.
Yeah,
I was having to check, and that wasn't because that's what I wanted to do. But it's that sharp pain where your body's telling you, yeah, you need to stop what you're doing because that's hurting. But mine was for a different reason. But when you're not perhaps too heavy and that sort of thing, then when you are getting those dull aches and those pains, the things that aren't sharp, then yeah, you can absolutely run through all of that. Absolutely agree with you.
There is, yes, you have to be mindful of it, but just because your knee's gone, ow, that hurts, don't stop. Don't stop on the first one.
No.
If it's still doing it 2 miles down the line, it's probably time that you stop.
Yeah.
Or even 2 miles is probably too long. If you're still doing it another mile down the road, stop, because you probably are. It's either your technique's not right, there is a problem, and you need to stop. But David Goggins gaffer taped his calves and shins together to stop the pain so he could get through buds training. He was running with shattered shin bones, and he just put gaffer tape around him because he didn't want to wash out again, because he'd washed out twice previously. Third time's a charm, and that's it. You're gone.
Yeah.
So
that's insanity.
Yeah, but he is absolutely nuts. Like, I cannot recommend his book to anybody enough, because it's a complete. That was the wake up call. That was my biggest wake up call. What's
his name?
It's David Goggins. His book, and just watch some of his, like, he does ultra marathons and all these kind of things. And at one point he was over 300 pounds in weight, and like he's now he's got the complete Adonis look, and makes you hate him in that sense. But he's run more than 60 endurance races. He's done the ultra marathons, the 257 miles or whatever it is, as a run. He talks about living with your inner bitch and shutting that up, and he holds the record for the most number of chin-ups in 24 hours, which is like over 1,500 of them, and he doesn't weight it. He is absolutely nuts, and I can't hurt me.
Okay.
Master your mind and defy the odds.
Send me a message.
Yeah,
I want to remember that. I want to have a look at that.
He's got 4. No, there are other people's. Yeah, I will send you a message. In fact, I'll tell you what I'll do, because I own this book. And it is just absolutely fantastic. I cannot recommend it enough. There are other ones. I've got Paul Mort's book. He's a little bit different. Tyson Fury's book about changing mindset is on the bookshelf, ready to read, because anything like that where someone has gone through that amount of change, I want to listen to.
Yeah,
because
sure.
I have been, and I will hold my hands up, and I have been an absolute arse for the best part of 17 years. And I'm really lucky my wife now stuck with me. And if she hadn't, I probably would still be an arse. But I made some big mistakes, and I had to come back from it. To come back from it. That was the difference. I knew I had to come back from it. Until you have that light bulb moment and you go, yeah, I need to change something.
Yeah, for sure.
And I drive people mad, because one of the things that I have learned and sticks with me is, if you want something in life to change, don't wait for other people to change it for you. Yeah. Because I talk to my kids, and the moment you say to them, what are you doing? The first things out of their mouths is, but they. It's never, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. It's, yeah, it's somebody else's fault.
Yeah, for sure. They told me to do it.
Yeah, they told me to do it. Or it wasn't me, it was them. Look, you've done it. If you just suck it up and go, yeah, I've done it and I shouldn't have done it, you can move on. The longer it goes on for, the worse it gets. The worse you're always playing that blame game. Just 100%. Change what you change. Like, the things that I've changed about me have ultimately affected my entire life. Just from, they weren't just ultimately big changes all in one go. It was, I'm gonna go and get fit. That was the first thing. I needed to stop drinking as much. So I started cutting down on my drinking. Well, I wanted to get fitter. I didn't want to be 17.5 stone. And I went, right. So I started doing a little bit of exercise and started doing a little bit of extra working out. And then I went, runners, people that start running seem to lose a lot of weight really quickly. I'll start running. Started running. No, I need to give up smoking.
Yeah.
So, because I had given up, and I gave up probably about 5 years ago, and then I had 2 weeks around when my mum died where I picked up a couple of packets of fags, and then I went, no, I'm not going to carry on. And I literally then went cold turkey. I didn't worry about the vaping. I just went, no, sod that, and just going, because I wanted to be able to breathe. So I started running, and it was 1 night a week. Then it was 2 nights a week. Then it was 3 nights a week. And then I went, I really missed cycling. You know, I had a top end Scott mountain bike, like titanium framed. You know, they're like, if I hadn't have wrecked, or I hadn't given it to my son for him to wreck it, it would have been worth more than I paid for it in '97.
Oh wow!
And I paid 1,200 quid for it in '97, because the titanium frame's worth more than that now. But I hadn't cycled for probably 10 years. So sat on laid on a sun lounger in Lanzarote, and I'm buying a fitness watch and agreeing to buy a bike. And was that in yeah. No, I bought the watch before. No, I didn't. I bought it while I was out there, because I went to Lanzarote, and my wife went, "What the hell are you doing?" I went, "I'm going for a run." Because I'd already got that mindset. I was missing my running group. So I wasn't just going to go there, drink, eat, and not exercise. So I was getting up in the mornings and going for a run along the seafront. That was the best runs I ever had.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And then so I got a bike. So then I started going out cycling on a Wednesday night. Then that went to 2 nights or 2 days a week. And then someone said to me, "You should come and do Ride 100. You're already up to sort of 13, 14 miles an hour. You'll do it in 8 hours. You'll be fine." I mulled it over, and I went, "Yeah, I'll do it for Macmillan, because they helped my dad and my mum when my mum was alive. So I'll do that." Was the moment I signed on to do that, about 3 weeks later, I got this pack through the post. Your training plan. What? And I started reading it, and then all of a sudden I'm then looking at nutritional guides. I'm 3 years down the line. I'm 4 stone lighter, and I run more now than I ever did, because I played badminton, and I played rugby, and I played a bit of football. I played cricket, but I wasn't fit. I was always chubby at school. I've always been that kind of build. But to change my mindset, and to be the person now where, yes, I enjoy a decent bottle of red wine. Hold my hands up to that. And I will quite happily go on a Friday night or a Saturday night. I'll have a drink, but I'm only doing 1. I don't do 2 nights. And for the 8 months I was training for Ride 100, I was teetotal.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair play. Because I don't really drink.
No.
I will.
Yep.
We're going to go and play around a golf or something, I'll have a couple of beers afterwards. But I no longer think, right, Friday, let's go out and have an absolute skinful, and then want to do the same thing on Saturday.
No.
Drink doesn't even come into my mind. If my friends didn't say to me, "Should we have a pint?" I wouldn't even think about it. I'd get in the car and go home. Or if we have like a poker night on Saturday night, obviously virtually in a minute.
Yeah.
If I wasn't watching them having like a glass of whiskey or a can of beer, I wouldn't have one. It just doesn't come into my mind anymore. It's strange, isn't it? But for me, I've given up a lot of things. I've given up smoking. I've given up drinking. A couple of other different bits and pieces. But now I'm trying to go through that lifestyle change. And moving house for me was a big one, which is too long a story to explain on the time we've got left. But that was a huge one. So now the very last thing is diet and fitness, and that's all it is. That's all it is. And I've had to, a bit like quitting smoking. I'm sure there's anybody watching this, or thousands, millions of people around the world. How many times have you started a diet?
Yeah.
The thing is, and they talk about, oh, I'm not motivated, I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not that. All you've got to do is start. That's it. It's literally as easy as that, in my mind at least. All you've got to do is start, and that's what I'm telling myself. I know I can't speak because I'm not sat here like Mr. Olympia or whatever.
Well, no, but
it's not like I've achieved my goals, but it is. Once you've done that day, once you've done that one day, and you don't allow excuses to creep in like I keep doing, then you'll get where you want to be, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That is
fair play to you, mate. Fair play to you. Everything you've done.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate that, because I got told off last Thursday because I was in a sports injury clinic, and I got asked. I can't recommend Thierry enough. He's great, and he was like, "So, what is your exercise regime?" And I was like, "Yeah, so get up in the morning 4 days a week, do free weights for an hour. I then work all day, sat in this same chair." And then I go and walk the dogs for 2 miles, and that's every day. I walk the dogs for 2 miles minimum every day. Sometimes it'd be 3. Longest I've walked them is about 6. Then after I've done that, I'm either out for a bike ride or I'm out for a run. So when's your day off? I've had 3 days off in nearly 4 months.
You're supposed to have a day off a week, aren't you?
You should be well, yeah. A lot of people will say, he turned around to me and went, "James, you're not an elite athlete." No, I'm definitely not that, because I've still got a bit of a pot belly. I've still got, my man boobs are still kind of there, but they're smaller than they've ever been. He went, "You probably need, the reason you've got a slight issue with your sciatica and the problem at the bottom of your back and the tenseness across your shoulders is because you're not giving your body a chance to recover."
Because they say that's almost more important than doing the exercise in the first place, don't they?
But I do it for the relaxation side of things. Because even during the winter, and I was doing the turbo trainer, I get on the turbo trainer, and the only thing I'm concentrated on is trying to go or trying to keep up with the person that's in front of me.
Yeah, but I don't think you've got to stop. I don't think they mean that you've got to put your feet up for 2 days, do they?
No, no.
Don't go for a run. Perhaps don't go for an endurance cycle. Or
the best one I've had, and you'll love this. I got off the bike after doing 10 miles, and I stopped my watch, and it went 7 days. That was the recovery time. That's where my heart rate and my body was at. I then put my shoes on and went for a run.
Part of it, I think you can just get yourself fitter.
I did, and that's one of the reasons I was able to run so quickly on yesterday, was because I hadn't run since Tuesday last week. Because I cycled Wednesday, went and saw Thierry on the Thursday, and he did tell me I could have gone for a run on the Thursday night, but only a 5k, and I went, well, I'll leave it. And I had 2 events on Swift on the turbo trainer on Friday and Sunday, so I've done those and then gone for my run on last night, and tonight I'll be out for an effort session. So I have, after having been told that and telling the wife, who went, told you, so what are you going to do about it? And I went,
nothing.
I suppose I'll have to have a schedule. And she went, right, so what does it look like then? I went, well, it'll either be I'll have a Friday night or a Saturday night. And she went, right, you're going to stick to that? And I went, I'll try my best. And one of the ways, again, this goes back to the drinking thing. If I was going to sit and have a drink on a Friday night, I know I'm not getting up for a run on the Saturday morning, because there's no way I'm going to go. Well, I've done it twice, but realistically, I'm not going out for a successful run on a Saturday morning after drinking on the Friday night.
No.
So I forced myself into a day off. I forced myself.
Friday night.
Well, that's it. I have. I had slipped into drinking one night a weekend regularly, which again I went from. I set myself a target. There's a thing in David's book about an accountability mirror, and I set that up on the 26th of December. And one of the post-it notes says no alcohol until you hit 13.5 stone. Well, I hit 13.5 stone and started drinking again. Not heavily, it's like a bottle of red wine on a Friday night or a bottle of red wine on a Saturday night. But I was drinking every weekend. And I've now gone, no, I'm doing it once, possibly twice a month max, because I have a date night with the wife.
Yep.
So always, that is something else that I've now do. We now have date night once a month, which for 8 years we didn't really do. We did one a year. That was what we did. We did one a year. It was anniversary. That was it. No, we now do it once a month. But because we can now start getting together in small groups, some of the lads from our running group are looking at having our first boys' night since October on the 22nd of May.
Okay.
In my back garden. So they're going to come over, and looks like it's going to be curry and a few jars. So I'll have two weekends. The other 2 weekends I'm not drinking, and that'll be a test. That is going to be a test of me mentally, because that's going to be. I'm not able to go for a run tomorrow morning. Oh, can I have a drink? No, I can't. So I've changed it. So this week, Friday's my day off. Friday's my day off, because my target is 75 miles a week on the bike. 22 miles on a Wednesday. The other 53 split over a Friday and a Sunday. Well, this Sunday I'm going out for 60 miles. So I've gone Friday. I won't do that then. Friday I won't do that.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah, I think I'll be all right. I'll have Friday night off. So yeah, but that is important. Again, like I say, I'm still learning this stuff, so I've made the mistakes. And I will say to anybody, try and make sure you've got at least one day a week where you just relax.
Yeah,
Not to the point that you decide that you're going to go down to Weatherspoons, have 10 pints, and then go and get a kebab and a pizza and everything else. Don't go and blow all of the other stuff out. But in regards to what you're going through, mate, I'm always here. I'm here to support you.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate that.
Well, no, I've done it. I've changed the way I eat, the way I look at life, what I do. I'm waiting to hear whether I've got my leadership and management diploma.
Oh, wow.
I started that April last year. Jason gave me the time to get that finished because I just hadn't had a chance. So I'm hoping to hear whether I've passed that or not. And then it's on.
Sure you will.
Well, I'm not the greatest person at leading people. I'm like a lemming. That'd be the best way to explain. What a great game Lemmings were. What a great game Lemming was.
Lemmings was a great game. Was a great game. Where is Lemmings?
No. But bizarrely, Worms is.
Worms is also a great game. And Worms is still a thing. I've got Worms, I think.
I had it on the PlayStation. You could play it on the PlayStation. It was brilliant. Because I downloaded it because it was free. It was free on the PlayStation store. So I downloaded it. The kids were like, what's that? They couldn't get enough of it. They loved it.
I remember playing Worms when I was at school. Right? Yeah. I was at school a long time ago.
Same as me, mate. Same as me.
Way to put it. But mate, phenomenal game. And it's modernised now, isn't it? But it's just mindless fun.
Yes.
You're not really doing anything as such. It's just which actually is quite empowering sometimes to just do nothing.
Yeah, and And that is the difference. That is when we used to play games, mate. No, I don't do gaming at all. I don't even own a console. I have actually. I've still got a Wii with all the fitness games on
that doesn't count.
No, exactly. It's not a proper one. Because I used to play FIFA. I played FIFA on my consoles, and then that got to a stage where I couldn't deal with it anymore. It's too complicated. Just because as you get older, it's harder to one, concentrate, and also they add extra things in where they go, yeah, just now flick this and flick that. And what do you mean triple tap? What is triple tapping the button? Because when I tap it the first time, they boot it. What do you mean triple tap it? I don't know, so I didn't get that. So I got rid of them. But it's like, how is it endless fun? And you might tell me I'm completely wrong. Or maybe one of the people who are watching this will tell me that I'm completely wrong. But how is it mindless fun where you can relax running around in one of these like Call of Duty games where you're in a world trying to work with 7 other people, trying to coordinate what they're doing, or constantly being in fear of someone running up behind you and stabbing you and having some name for whatever they call that.
See, it's only relaxing if you're good at it.
Yeah, well, I'm terrible at it.
So am I. But if you're good at those sorts of games, then it is relaxing because you're going around and you're just destroying everything and everyone, aren't you? But that takes a supreme level of focus and reflex as well. But
I'm sorry. I'm now looking. Oh, you can still play Lemmings.
Oh, mate, good.
However, not so keen on the website it's on.
Which is?
Well, it's called Elysium, and I don't know what .nu stands for. And there's videos, adverts, links, all sorts of weird and wonderful. And the screen is probably 6 inches by 9, and from which you can play it.
Like, if only we knew somebody that knew something about keeping ourselves secure on the internet.
I know it'd be. Admittedly, I have managed to get to that without any of the tools kicking in, so it can't be that bad. But it still worries me.
Yeah, I would turn that off.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, so it has, and there's an arcade spot. It's on there as well on a tiny little screen, but it looks like you can also get it on an iPhone.
Okay, so that is a bit safer.
Yeah, so it looks like
we go to the
you may well be able to get it on an iPad or the wife's losing her iPad tonight. The wife
Lemmings is. You probably can't see it on here. Lemmings is an official game.
Yeah. Excellent.
Has it changed? Oh no, Lemmings Classic is on there, mate. There you go. That's your evening set.
Yeah. That is. Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, the puzzle adventure. I better be the proper one where I can build steps for him to walk on. That better be. Yeah. Oh, it is. Yeah, she's losing the iPad tonight. That's done. That is done and dusted. Right, and on that note, we have gone slightly over the hour. We will get another one in the diary.
Yeah.
And on that one, we're going to talk about moving house and the stress and the hassle that comes with it. And I will exchange stories because we've got 2 different sides of it. Because I know what you've moved into, and I can tell you about the pain of moving into what I moved into.
Right. Sounds like a good story to share.
Yeah. All right, then, mate. I'll let you get on. Thanks very much for watching and listening.
Thanks for having me again. And enjoy your run.
Yeah. All right, mate. And I'll speak to you later on in the week.
Take care, mate. Bye-bye.
Take care, mate. Bye.